Welcome to the Guide to Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. I am Joe. He is Sean. Sean, how the hell are you?
You can find me at Math Teacher Movies on Instagram, and also make sure you wear your damn. Oh, we're not doing the end first. This isn't the Oscar. Okay, sorry. I thought we were doing it out of order like the Oscars. I'm doing well. I'm having a bit of a little tea because my voice is a little hoarse and everything like that. And like what happened?
A spot of tea.
Just a spot of tea. Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm downing like a Starbucks iced coffee. You're like, I'm having some tea. I'm like, I just got a nice coffee. Let's roll for it. Oh man. Yeah. So we'll get to the Oscars. We had some fun Sunday night talking about that. You were on live like the entire evening.
We found a great dynamic on live where I would be sitting there watching in anticipation with every award, and Sam would be in the background texting and pretty much making her occasional comment. And that dynamic started to work pretty damn well. And so we started to enjoy it as we went on.
It's a peek behind the curtains of what happens in the household. It was very entertaining. I was down in Philadelphia for their party, the Philadelphia Film Society party. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
It looks great. Yeah.
They did a nice job with it. It's kind of interesting because I forgot about this last year, but a lot of people left like an hour to go, not even. And I was like, we're just getting to the good stuff.
Oh, so you went to this last year as well?
Yeah, I did.
So how was it, compared to with all the COVID stuff? Was it a little bit different this year or anything like that?
It was. So last year they had it in their building. So the Philadelphia Film Society has they own a theater downtown Philadelphia. And within it, they redid most of the space, and they were able to kind of cater it in like a nicer space and stuff like that. This year, obviously that was in February of last year. This year they sent out a letter, and by letter I mean email because it's 2021. They sent out an email asking about the comfort level of people coming to the event and like whether or not we would be interested if it was outside or whatnot. So they ended up doing it outside on top of a parking garage in Philadelphia that has been turned into like an outdoor park. And it's actually really cool up there. It's really cool views, and they had a big tent. There's a big screen on the side of the building. It was really funny because at like 9:30, as like some of us were yelling about some of the awards, you see like some of the residents that live in that building just closing their shades.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good experience. It was very cold. But the vodka helped. So we were fine afterwards. But yeah, so we'll get to that. Sean, we might have a little bit of a supersized show today. And by that, I mean, we're just going to focus on some of the things that we do anyway on a regular basis, like talk about movies, but probably a lot of movies that we've been watching. And then there's a good bit of news because last week was our Oscars podcast. And yeah, some stuff happened that we should touch on. I did not go to the Oscars for the person asking in the comments. I went to an Oscars party. So very different.
Just as good, and maybe in fact better than a train station.
Yeah, the ratings were much higher. So let's talk about movies. Sean, we have to start with Mortal Kombat. And that's the big release. It, number one at the box office. It was battling Demon Slayer, which was kind of an interesting, back and forth. But it was battling them. They had a really big weekend on HBO Max. I didn't love it. I'll start off there. I usually punt to you right away, but I watched the screener of this, and this was a movie that I wasn't expecting much from. But there's certain properties out there that if you're going to remake them, I feel like it's a low bar, and this is one of them that I thought was a low bar. I actually like the 1995 version because it just can't be a shit. Like, I laugh my ass off when they're on that ship going to, because apparently that's how you get to like Mortal Kombat. They take that ship, and like the lights, the stars in the background, it's very clearly a black sheet with lights on it, and I love that. I love that you can see that, but it has solid action. And there's parts that you like to make fun of. There's parts that you're like, yeah, that's badass. But here, you just have like Lord Raiden with the worst Instagram filter ever on his eyes. Like, that just annoyed the shit out of me right from the beginning. Kano, who apparently the actor ad-libbed all of his own, or most of his own lines, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems very clear. And this is someone who everyone is loving, and I don't see that. It's very packaged, very bad. Like,
I think he's a popular character in the video
Yeah.
games, and so like again, low bar. But it was just really not like when he made like the Harry Potter joke, I was like, all right. I just wasn't feeling it. And like when they're like, you need to go, you need to go to Gary, Indiana to find Sonya Blade. I was like, Gary, Indiana, huh? That's where we're setting this. So yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. I will say that my favorite parts was every scene with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I loved that story, but I do feel like it took a backseat to the overarching story. And we also saw it in the previews or the 7 minutes that were released 5 days before, which is a bad sign anytime that happens.
When that was released, the 7 minutes in the opening, I intentionally do not watch those because I really don't want to. It's not a spoiling thing. It's like I lose the experience, and I'm glad I didn't watch that because that first 10 minutes or so was like unbelievably great. Like it was, it set up an interesting world. It set up everything there. The premise of this is absolutely fascinating. I truly love it. I love the world building they were doing. But as someone who has never played the video game, barely knows anything about the video game, has never seen a single other Mortal Kombat movie, you lost me. And it's saying like, oh, maybe you should have watched all the other stuff and everything. I shouldn't have to if this is a reboot. You're creating the world again. Bring in people that are, you say the Oscars exclude people that are like, different opinions, stuff like that. Bring in the weird cinema guy that wants to watch a Mortal Kombat movie and doesn't know anything about the characters, because that was my main issue. It wasn't the fight scenes themselves and the action themselves in the fight scene. It's the two people fighting. I cared nothing about them, and there didn't seem to be any conflict. Also, I just want to sort of say that, I'm just going to say bad guy and good guy. I don't know anybody. But the bad guy's plan and the bad people's plan was to cheat in order to get around a fighting competition by, wait for it here, what were they going to do to get around that fighting competition? By fighting them. You're already doing it. It's just like, it's like you want to the Astros are trying to win that World Series by playing baseball on the street. I don't even know an analogy that is this stupid. But for me, it was just something where some of the fight scenes were great. I really I kind of dug this a little more than you even mathematically. I don't know what it was, but there was something that drew me into the world, but in the end, it sort of fell flat.
So I did like Louis Tan. I thought he was a really great addition. I liked the character they created. It was very refreshing. I like that. It was especially coming from the original, where of course, like if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you know anything about it, you're going to include Johnny Cage, which I'll get to in a second. I liked that. I thought he was good. I didn't totally understand his power or whatever, or his Mulan Chi. They all develop these powers just by getting pissed off and fighting.
They do it when they have pain or something. I don't know. It was another Force situation.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating to me. But speaking of Force, the Johnny Cage reference at the end was totally forced. Like when Lewis is closing up his bag and all that, and the guy's like, "You're not going to fight anymore." He's like, "I'm going to Hollywood." What's in Hollywood? Not what? Who? And then he walks past a Johnny Cage poster. I'm like, you freaking kidding me?
If I was the gym manager, I'd be like, "Dick, I asked."
Yeah, have a good trip, asshole. Yeah, I was annoyed by that. I did see that a lot of people are pushing Mike the Miz from WWE. Do you know who that is?
No, I'm so bad in this world.
So he started off on the Real World, and when he was on the Real World, he's like, "I'm going to be a professional wrestler," and everyone was like, whatever. He's a professional wrestler, and he's really popular, and he plays that flashy Hollywood role as a wrestler and stuff, and he would be perfect for it. I'm not denying that, but I don't know. Overall, I just felt like it was very rushed. Isn't the right word? The parts that got me most frustrated were there were certain scenes where I felt like the CGI and the visual effects in general were piss poor. But then there were other scenes where I'm like, oh, this looks really sharp. So the balance there was just so off for me, but it was enough to distract me and annoy the shit out of me. I don't know why.
There was some audio dubbing as well that was nightmare fuel, where it's I forget the woman's name, but Blades,
Sonya Blade.
Hey, Sonya Blade, Julie Blades, Sonya Blade,
Julia Stiles,
where she would talk in one frame and then it would cut, and her volume and also her tone would be entirely different. And it was one of these things where it's like, oh, wow, you're picking on the sound right now, Sean. Yeah, the dubbing was fairly bad in that moment. And that's something you got to see. I mean, I'd hope you will.
And I don't know this for sure. I think I may have just convinced myself afterwards that this happened without knowing. And I had, like the good journalist I am, I haven't gone back and checked. But I remember when the trailer came out and we get the whole like "get over here" from Scorpion, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds a little weird," because everyone's used to the video game or the original movie. I felt like they dubbed that over in this because I remember not having a problem with it when I watched it. Either that or I was just ready for it to be over. But I did enjoy. Again, I enjoyed their fight scenes. I thought they were great, and I want to see more of them. The way they sold this, two things. One, it's going to be all about Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Spoiler: it's not. And the other one was, these fights are going to be some of the best fights you've ever seen in your life. Spoiler, they're not. Like, so many of them were just cookie cutter shit. And the guy that played Liu Kang looked like a Las Vegas Michael Jackson knockoff. Like, I could not get past that at all. And it just irritated me.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things in that end fight scene, it bored me. And everyone, because I was golfing with my friends the next day about it, and they saw the Mortal Kombat movie and like, Sean, you're a film snob. You only like black and white movies, stuff like that. That's not true, but I'll okay, whatever. Even if I am that level, I love fun. I love, entertainment. Entertain me. And if the fight scenes are boring, we've got a problem. And so you didn't entertain me, so you committed the cardinal sin. I mean, and that's something like of that movie. That's the one thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like the final scene when, slight spoiler, so skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. But in the final scene when like Louis Tan's family, Cole's family, is all frozen and whatever, it's the same thing as the very first scene that we see where his family's frozen, but somehow like they break. I guess he uses his like, I escaped from hell and now I have heat in my body thing to unfreeze them. But I was just
that thing. That plot device.
That brings me to another point. Fatalities were teased in this like crazy. All they kept talking about were the fatalities from the game, which if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat, it's like when you have the person, you're ready to kill them, you're about to win, you can do a fatality. It's like their signature move. It was kind of like where the whole cheat code, like AABB, up, down, right, left thing from old school PlayStation came in. I think there were 2 of them in this movie, maybe 3. I'm only thinking 2 right now.
Is that when they like said it in the the character would say fatality or something?
Fatality. Well, now I'm thinking more because Kano, when he rips out the heart, that's technically one, I think.
Yeah.
Which was probably underwhelming. Yeah, that would be a fatality. And then we had oh god, I'm gonna forget his name. I'm gonna get Kung Lao, when Kung Lao's hat.
Oh, that was cool.
That was cool.
The little buzzsaw hat.
Yeah, when the buzzsaw hat does his thing, and then at the end when Scorpion like shoots the flames out of his mouth, like that was a pretty cool scene. They're from the fatalities in the games. I don't know. I guess it was just like, I should not be forgetting all this stuff. I should have rewatched it 7 times by now. That's usually what I would do with a movie like
That's
this.
Your move. Yeah.
Someone in the comments just said this movie felt like I was experiencing a fatality.
Odd Job did it better.
Yes. So anyway, let's move on from there. I have 3 movies this week. I always make fun of you for always having like tons of movies to talk about, but I have a few that I want to talk about. So first off, I did watch Monday. It's Sebastian Stan's new movie. I know you watched this and didn't love it quite as much as I did. Definitely some issues with it, but overall, I really enjoyed the story. It was it was a slower film, but I felt like it was paced well, and it focuses on a relationship that's developing early on between two Americans that are in Greece, and then kind of like flashes forward to different weekends throughout the year to progress the story. I thought that the 2 leads, Sebastian Stan. Oh my gosh, I'm going to forget her name.
I am too.
Yeah, they were incredible.
Yeah.
Denise.
I want to say Goth, but that's not right.
It's Go or something, I think. But yeah, that was a very enjoyable movie. Really liked that. Sebastian, if you're into Sebastian Stan's ass being shown nonstop, there's like 50% of the movie is them having sex and you see his ass, and then at the end you see the goodies. So like it was kind of yeah, it was kind of interesting when I was sitting in Florida watching it on the back patio, like, oh my god, cover the screen. Another one I watched was Together. This stars Ed Helms and oh my god, I'm so terrible with names.
It's a first timer, I think, or someone who's very new.
She's newer.
Yeah.
Patty Harrison. So this is essentially Ed Helms is a single man in his 40s who hires a surrogate who ends up being Patty Harrison. She's in her 20s. I really enjoyed this movie. I actually gave it a 5 out of 5, which kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting to enjoy it. But it's just a very unique look at a unique situation. And the question is, you know, when you're a single person and you have a surrogate like that, you're both straight. Like, what's that relationship? Like, are you friends? Is it more? Because it's like a very intimate situation. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of subtle humor, a lot of smart humor. Smart humor is something I'm going to mention again with the next movie. But a lot of smart humor, and Ed Helms, I think, was at the top of his game in this. He wasn't stupid. He was goofy in some senses, but it was endearing and it was very relatable in a lot of ways when you're, I guess, like, you know, I'm 34, I'm not quite in my 40s yet, but you know, when you feel like there's so many things that you want to do, but you had this plan of of what needed to happen before you do that. And his character gets to the point where he's like, I want to have a kid. I'm 40 something years old. I'm not going to build the relationship and wait for the right person to come along and all that. I'm going to jump over this hoop or this hurdle and do it. So they were both very good. Enjoyed that. And finally, I should mention that's in theaters now. Excuse me, I almost burped into the microphone. So that would have been great for all of you. And then The Mitchells versus the Machines, animated film formerly known as Connected, moved to Netflix, comes out on Friday. Sean, I loved this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It's a Lord and Miller movie, animation, very similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Not quite as intense with some of like the comic references and stuff, but it is a smart movie. It is endearing. It is, touching in a lot of ways. The relationship that is focused on is mainly between the father and the daughter who's going to school. The story is that essentially, like, the Siri of the movie, the phone ends up adapting and getting pissed off and like uses all these robots that were just created by the same company to try to take over the world. So it's goofy, but it's funny. Like, I was like laughing out loud so many times. And I love a good animated movie that can balance children's humor with adult humor. And I think that Shrek did it really well. And then every animated movie after that really tried to do it. And I don't think quite reached it. I think this one gets there.
Yeah, I mean, Lord and Miller are I have not seen this, but their zone is animation. I mean, you know what they're working with when they're in animation, and they know how to like just absolutely rock comedic timing. And an animation that's very tricky. It shouldn't be. You should be able to do it easily. It should be easier than real life. But for some reason, it's really tricky to get that done for an animated movie, and they just absolutely always nail it. So I will definitely be seeing this movie without a doubt in my hotel room on Friday when, congratulations, Nick. My cousin's getting married, so before I put the suit on, I'm gonna throw that on.
There you go. Fully support that. Yeah, it's a solid movie. Highly recommend it. Hits Netflix on Friday. We'll remind you all at the end of this episode what is coming out this weekend. You watched a movie that you were just telling me a little bit about that you are not the biggest fan of.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's called Stowaway. It's a sci-fi space picture with Anna Kendrick and Toni Collette and Daniel Day Kim, which, if that name doesn't sound familiar, he was on Lost. I can't remember his name on Lost. That's very surprising. But the movie is very fascinating. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's sort of a space mystery thriller in a way that introduces a moral quandary. The director is Joe Pena, who directed Arctic, which Arctic is amazing. It's with Mads Mikkelsen, and he's in the Arctic, and he's trying to survive. And in this one, they're also trying to survive because of something that happens, and that something that happens is inexplicable to an annoying extent. And then you're just, okay, I'll just yada yada over that. And then finally, this ending happens. And I obviously will not spoil the movie, but man, does all of the air come out of the movie. I mean, every ounce of it. Like, this movie is like pretty solid until then. And then that ending is just an absolute, just flat. It's not just like what happens, but it's the delivery of how it happens and the way they tell that story.
Yeah. So this was one of the ones that I felt like they didn't really promote much. I remember when the trailer came out, and the only reason I remember it is because I put it on Guy at the Movies. So that worries me. There's another movie they have coming out this week that we were just talking about a little bit ago, Things Heard and Seen, that they really haven't been talking about or hyping up, with Amanda Seyfried. And I don't think that bodes well, especially when they release it on a Thursday. And I think, wasn't Stowaway a Thursday release or a Wednesday release?
I think it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. I mean, when it comes down to it, they marketed this in the beginning of the year. There were Netflix is like, Netflix will have a movie every week. And hey, they've lived up to that. But they either haven't promoted them or promoted them and were woefully misguided in doing so. And it's been kind of a mess for them. Granted, it's also, the beginning of the year. No, it's not. It's April, but like it's the beginning of the quote unquote movie year. And so, these are the rough ones. We're going to see some interesting stuff from them, hopefully very soon.
Friday, Mitchell's and the Machines will be an interesting thing. So, here, we'll see. Army of the Dead's next month.
Yes.
3 weeks-ish. All right. So you mentioned Mads Mikkelsen, who is going to factor into some of our conversation in, if not the next portion of our show, the news that we're about to talk about in a few seconds, or a few minutes. But you also mentioned not sticking the landing. And so I want to dive into the Oscars and give you the floor. The
Oscar ceremony. Something I look forward to, a lot of my family looks forward to, a lot of my friends look forward to. And I'm trying to think of how this went, because obviously they were limited because of the pandemic. They decided not to do a Zoom situation. So they made sort of a 1930s ball, with the tables all set up in the scenery. I loved that idea. And that's what it used to be. It used to be, 15 minutes. Bob Hope would be drunk. He'd be smoking a cigarette the whole time. They'd throw a couple of awards at some stars, and they would get out of there. And it was only on the radio.
Was Glenn Close supposed to be like the drunken one this year, doing the dancing later?
I mean, hey,
it was
she
entertaining.
Followed every single line she was given. But what I think about with that is that it didn't translate properly. It started off great. I saw that setting. I said, this is really cool. He's being immersive. It's weird for me to say this, but he's using natural light. We're talking Soderbergh here, baby. And everything about it was great. And then the energy just slowly kept getting worse and worse. One of the problems might be that, Best Director was announced very, very early. That could have been because they wanted Bong Joon-ho to do it, and that therefore they wanted the South Korea, maybe the time difference was a little bit tricky, and they didn't want him staying up until like 4 or 5 a.m. or whatever. So they said, all right, fine, you know what? We'll get Best Director out of the way. Maybe that was what was going on. I didn't understand what was happening with the order of the awards, and then all of a sudden it started to get weirder when Riz Ahmed was presenting for sound, and I'm like, oh wait, they're counting on Sound of Metal to win sound. Wow, that's a risky thing. I wonder if they're going to be counting on that later, and they did. And you're on mute.
Nothing but the best here. But why? Why would they be Are you being sarcastic when you say they were counting on that?
No, they were saying like, it would be kind of fun if Riz Ahmed, who was in Sound of Metal, like presents the award to Sound of Metal for best sound. And yeah, it's a fun thing. Maybe that's nothing. Maybe that's me just being paranoid at this point when I look back at all of this. But that was something that was a little bit odd. Then all of a sudden, like, it's really the energy's gone. And then they say, all right, here comes, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, possibly, like they did. And, they started to say, all right, here comes Best Picture. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, they haven't done the acting. They must have messed up something. The announcer messed up. Something's going wrong. They announced Best Picture, not the last award. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to talk about the reason why they probably did it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's no justification for it. Best Picture is the culmination of all of the Oscars. It is the main star award. No matter how good or bad it is the reason you're there. You put Best Picture. It's the culmination of movies. I know I'm being dramatic now, but that is actually what the Best Picture award is. All right. Meanwhile, they're also putting in a Lil Rel Howery bit that I honestly did quite enjoy. Yes, we all know Glenn Close was scripted, but it was still something where, like, it was sort of fun, but it was way too late in the show. At that point, everyone's like, let's get out of here.
Well, and they hadn't done bits the entire show. Mm-hmm. So to do one then was just like, okay.
It felt out of place. Also, the other thing I want to mention here is that this is everyone saying how terrible this is. This is not the first year they did this. There were no clips. But I think it's now just something where we all have to sit down and talk. And when you're doing the performances, when you're even doing like the makeups, when you're even doing the best sound editing and the best VFX, you put clips in there. I understand maybe they were limited technically, possibly. I don't believe that, but possibly they were. But to have people just sort of like, it was lovely that Laura Dern said something nice about every single actor. It was unforgivable that Joaquin Phoenix decided to throw away the prompter completely and not say something nice about any of them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that was something that's lovely, that's nice, but you get excited for the performances again when you see the clips. And some people have not seen the performances. So Best Picture wins, Nomadland wins. Frances McDormand wins an Oscar, which I actually didn't know she was producing. So that was kind of a fun little surprise. I loved that she did that. Her howling was great. It was in tribute to it was actually a very nice thing. It was in tribute
I totally get it. But I'm just remembering the text message I got from my mother. Why is that woman howling?
I mean, on one hand, it's Frances McDormand, and the cut to her husband just like not fazed at all by it. It's like, yep. Same shit, new day.
Now you guys got her. Yeah. All right. Well, you want to get into the controversial stuff?
Yeah, because now we're going to get into what happened and why it happened and the reason.
Let's just dive into that.
So then it did Best Actress and Best Actor. And it did Best Actor last. And I think everyone now realizes why they did that. And they did that because they said, you know what? Chadwick Boseman is definitely winning. So let's have it end with a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It will be a lovely, moving, touching situation. Unless you know that for 100% certainty, which they did not, even though we all were talking a big game in our Oscar pools. Oh, we were. Unless you know that with the 100% certainty, you don't do that. And I would say that, then you give the work to Joaquin Phoenix in that situation, who did not say a nice, excuse me, I should say this differently, did not say the usual speech about every actor's performance that all of the other presenters did. He kind of went off script. All right. Joaquin, if you're nervous and you hate public speaking, you can say no, buddy. You can say no. Or maybe we don't have Joaquin do that. He's a lovely actor, but the guy just has like the people skills of an anthill. And so we not only lose. Sorry.
That took a second to process.
And so we sort of lost the opportunity to give any sort of Chadwick Boseman tribute whatsoever. And like, because Joaquin was probably going to read something that would be lovely that was written by someone else. I'm definitely assuming, and it would have been a nice. It would have been something nice, even though he'd lose. That didn't happen. He also didn't. Apparently, this is rumored, of course, but it was supposed to flip to Olivia Colman to accept the Oscar on behalf, and Joaquin just kind of closed the show.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's true. I don't know, like, if that's substantiated yet. I think the problem is that Anthony Hopkins winning is one hell of an upset, in my opinion. And upset is not a bad word. Upset is just no one was expecting it. And some people were kind of like rumbling, expecting it. Maybe a few people had it as a long shot. And if Anthony Hopkins won before Best Picture, I don't think it would be as weird as it was. I think it would still be shocking. People would still be kind of like, whoa, that did just happen, which I personally, it's tough because on one hand, Anthony Hopkins deserved that Oscar. Mm-hmm. He acted the shit out of that movie. On the other hand, sometimes it's a little bit bigger than a performance. I know some people don't want to believe that. Some people don't want to talk about that. They say just nominate or just give the award to the performance and nothing else. But I think that I think you need to honor a legacy of Chadwick Boseman, and also still a great performance. And so when I look at this, I say to myself, this sucks for Chadwick Boseman's widow. This sucks for Anthony Hopkins. And, you know, I mean, I don't feel bad for the Oscars right now, but this sucks for the Oscars. Mm-hmm. And it's those kind of situations where it just took every little bit of air out, like I've said already with Stowaway, but it took every little bit of air out of the awards that were already waning before that. And it was already a little bit tricky on how they were going to get it to move. So, I hope things were learned. I hope you realize don't count on an award to win if they were really doing that, which I think obviously they were, but I'm going to keep talking in circles. So I'm going to stop talking now.
I also just don't agree with shifting around. You've been doing this 93 years. This is nothing new. Like you know the order, how the order should go. You've had upsets in the past. Don't overproduce the awards. Just stick to what works and stick to the actual awards. I don't even know if that's what works, given that we have to talk about the ratings that are, I think, finally leveled out at like 10.4 million or something, which is drastically below, I think, the 24 or 29 million of last year. But I think what is really bothering me about the whole situation is not that he won, meaning Anthony Hopkins. It's a great performance. May the best actor win. If that's how the Academy voted, that's how the Academy voted. That's integrity. I agree. Like, that's the integrity of the awards. I'm okay with that. But it's almost playing with expectations in a way of your audience. And to even, I mean, I'm also split on what I'm about to say here. To have his widow, Chadwick Boseman's widow, attend the awards in the middle of a pandemic, and with the expectation that she's going to be giving one of those heartfelt speeches that we've seen her give time and time again over the award season, and for her to look just as stunned as everyone else did, it's a very weird, it's a bad look. I don't know how they avoid that look other than keep the normal schedule.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And I honestly think, you know, they sometimes play around with some stuff, and it's actually kind of fun. They sometimes do, like, you know, they did it this year, and I like it when they do this. The screenplays first. I think that's a cool little thing. Mm-hmm. They pepper in the supporting performances throughout. That's a fun little thing. They change those things around. Yeah, change those things around. This was an uprooting. All right. I don't even know if uprooting is an actual word, but of just like something normal where, you know what, like Anthony Hopkins might not show. He might not be there. He might not give a speech. So then, you know, it ends literally with a picture of Anthony Hopkins. Mm-hmm. All right. With Best Picture, they are there. There's someone there to pick it up. And right. So you're ending with a speech no matter what. And like, it first of all makes sense regardless, but it also makes sense in, you know, that regard where you will get a speech and there will be, you know, talking.
Can we just both agree that we want to have a beer with Daniel Kaluuya? Because that seems a lot of fun.
In 10 years' time, there is going to be either a play or a movie about the table where Daniel Kaluuya and Glenn Close sat at. Every time I saw them, I just said to myself, this is pure gold. And I'm glad you're starting to lighten it up a little bit, because I'm getting sad when I think about this again. But let me lighten up a little bit further with Brad Pitt on stage looking like the douchebag from Good Will Hunting with his hair, and just like right after that, giving the award to Yoo Jung-jun. Sorry, damn it. Oh, I knew I was gonna fuck that up. And
I love that she won, by the way.
Oh yeah. First of all, exceptional performance, deserved to win. And her speech, there's a moment there that no one's talking about in her speech. Yeah, pining after Brad Pitt, that was hysterical and pure, like, just like absolute organic amazement. There is a moment where she is attempting a joke, fails miserably because she's just having trouble with English, laughs at it. There's silence. And instead of moving on, she owns that. And she's like, oh, yeah, I didn't put the words together the right way, probably, or something like that. And the fact that she falls on her face, like, and just like stands up again and says, hey, I just fell on my face. This woman's a national treasure. Like,
she's apparently referred to as like the Meryl Streep of Korea, which is kind of cool. And then did you hear the whole thing where they asked her afterwards, like, what did Brad Pitt smell like? And she's like, I didn't smell him. I'm not a dog. I love her. I was so happy that she won. Oh my gosh. It's just what a light that night. Some other things we need to talk about is my obsession with Laura Dern. I love her. Absolutely love her. She could punch me in the face and I'd apologize to her. Not sure why, but I just think she is a delightful human being. And that's all I got on that one. I want to hang out with her and Reese Witherspoon. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. But going back to the Daniel Kaluuya thing, when he said, it's on all of us. We all have to stand up. We all have to take action. I'm going to take action on Tuesday because tonight I'm partying. I was like, thank you for being honest.
The supporting performance speeches were absolutely wonderful. And, you know, I will say this is a big debate also of playing off or not playing off. I will say, you know, thank God they didn't play Kaluuya off because his his speech ended perfectly. And he was flailing. He was flailing for a while, but he kind of nailed that. And it was great. And also another one is Thomas Vinterberg, who was sort of like, you know, kind of talking to, like, he was gabbing away. Then he hits with the emotional punch that like absolutely broke me. And whew,
and I'm not here to say that like that wasn't a necessary emotional punch. I wanted that emotional punch. I watched the Oscars for those emotional punches. But man, he buried that lead. I was like, oh, we're going there now. 20 minutes later. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. It was salt on an open wound for me that my octopus teacher, they decided to go on for about 20 minutes on their freaking octopus. God.
Oh my God. Well, hey, let's shift gears and start talking about some news, and we'll round back to the Oscars at some point, I'm sure. Before we do that, why don't you give everyone just a heads up on what to expect from the awards watch next week, since we're out of awards season?
So we're out of awards season, and so there's not much to talk about. So what I usually do, this is the first time I'm doing it. What I'm planning on doing, what I'm planning on doing is just sort of talking about like various Oscar topics. Various interesting Oscar topics that could happen, you know, that like different like categories, maybe more categories that should exist. Because the one thing this thing needs is more awards. And I really want to bring that into the fold. Next week specifically, I'm going to be tackling why doesn't anybody care about the Oscars? And I have a lot of different theories. I don't know anything. So, you know, definitely check out that article of someone who doesn't know anything. But I think that this, like, it'll be a very interesting exploration into, like, why does no one watch the Oscars anymore? I'm fascinated by it because I don't think it's just like, you know, well, the Oscars have changed. No, they haven't. In the 90s, they were like this. Like, and everyone watched them then. I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to try to, like, you know, I'm going to try to, like, dig through this mind of mine and get some answers. God help me.
Do you think they might go to, and shut me up if this is like a spoiler for different options you might explore next week, but they might go towards something where it's like it's not one event. Maybe they release, like, they announce them throughout like a couple of weeks or something. And I don't know. I don't know what that looks like or how they do it, but
it's tricky because then it's just, you know, all of a sudden that will turn into a situation where they give, like, you know, the main awards on one night and then they give all the technical awards on another. And then it just doesn't really, you know, seem like the Oscars anymore.
The Emmys do that though.
Well, the Emmys just somehow got away with it because they have 10 million awards. And so, like, they only give out the mainstay awards. And also, you know, they have more mainstay awards because they have drama, comedy, and also limited series, and all of the ones that go with that. But it is tricky because, you know, I mean, yeah, the typical viewer of an Oscar award show does not care about best cinematography. But try taking best cinematography off of the docket in the awards, and people will riot. They actually attempted it a couple of years ago. I think it was the same year as the most popular movie award that they were going to do, which I don't even blame them for suggesting that. It would suck, but I don't blame them for suggesting that. Like, because it's just sort of one of these things where what do we do to get people to watch the Oscars anymore? Because everyone's like, well, it was Nomadland, it was inaccessible. I'm like, I mean, The English Patient won in 1996, and you all watched it get an award.
Can I ask you a question though? Why do we want people to watch the Oscars? Because I understand, like, you know, of course it's Hollywood's biggest night and all of that, but it's Hollywood's biggest night for Hollywood. And what we're seeing, especially with this year, is a lot of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, especially, people hadn't really seen. And that's partly because of a pandemic, but also, I mean, that's what happens now. Like, people aren't as into, I think, the awards as they were in the past. It's not like they are being used as a marketing tool to go to the movie theaters or anything, or to support. You know, the most interesting part of the Oscars the other night, I forgot to mention this, I thought, was the focus on, I'm going to butcher the initials, so I won't even say it, but the motion picture
charity. Oh, I forget it. The Motion Picture Foundation.
Yeah, the fund or foundation or something. Yeah. I thought that was really fascinating. And I didn't even know that they had like a place that they supported like that, where people were living. And I thought that was a really great touch. But outside of like a feel-good story like that, I mean, do that on Good Morning America. That was a Good Morning America hit piece. And I don't know. I wonder what the point is. So we get, you know, ratings rebounding and things are going back up. What does that accomplish?
I think
it's self-indulgent.
Oh yes. I think like the job of the Academy, it's not to hand out these awards. This is just a little thing, you know, like this is a little sweet spot. The job of AMPAS, I want to say, to sound pretentious, I don't know why I'm going there. The job of them is to promote, like you were actually saying, promote the movies, promote what is happening in the movies, the advancements in movies, all of that type of situation. And so this is the moment that it spotlights on them. And I mean, they blew it this year with who they chose to produce it, but
you've also had 10 years of declining ratings. So either like you need to fire the person that's like ultimately in charge of all this and that that's hiring the producers, or you need to figure out a new message, because something you're doing is not working. And I don't think it's enough to just change the venue. Although I did enjoy the show the other night. It lagged in the last hour, as the Oscars traditionally do. I feel like if they don't hit 10:56 and you're still going, man, there's 3 categories, then there's something wrong. Yeah. Because that's like typical Oscars. But something's got to change. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm the one that like always argues, and my buddy argued against me on this. I argue, well, nobody watches anything. And that's a cynical point of view, and also like an excuse of it. Nobody watches TV. Nobody watches movies. Nobody watches this or that. They just put on The Office again. And like, it is one of these things where in a pandemic where all of a sudden we had all like this time to watch everything, not a lot of people watched what mattered. Oh my God, that sounds pretentious. But
I don't know about that though. I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that did pretty well in terms of streaming series and stuff like that. Movies, I mean, were different, of course, because
that's what I mean, I guess.
Well, the argument with movies is that they're not made for the small screen; they're made for the big screen, which is why I love. Did you see Regal Cinemas? Their slogan. It's like hashtag the big screen is back or something. And I thought that was perfect. I was like, great. Spot on, keep it simple. I don't know.
No, it's true. It's one of those things where that's where I fly off the handle and I become an old man and I'm like, no one's watching anything. They're just looking at TikToks. And obviously that's
presented
not
on
true.
TikTok. Presented on TikTok.
That's what I think. Like they did not announce the Oscars at all. Like everyone's like, I thought that was in February. So many people said that. Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, let's move on to another story that's not going to piss you off at all. But, we found out a day after another round took home the Oscar for Best International Picture that the rights to the award maybe they should auction the rights to the Oscars.
Award too.
The rights to the story have been auctioned off and won by Leonardo DiCaprio's company, as well as a few others. It's Appian Way is his production arm for an English language remake, because of course Americans can't read subtitles or see anything that's not fed to them that way. The Leonardo DiCaprio is rumored to be starring. It's not confirmed. If you read the articles, it's all like for a potential starring vehicle and stuff like that. He'll star in it. The story that Deadline had up was that the director, Thomas Vinterberg, was very intrigued by the idea of seeing DiCaprio take over the role that Mads Mikkelsen did. My question for you is, can we not have any nice things for a little while that don't have to have remakes, like English language remakes? I feel like this is very fast. It's kind of reminding me on a very different level of Sputnik. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Sputnik just hit Hulu. I think who was telling us about that it was like really great? Was it Walkden? Peter Walkden was telling us about Sputnik.
Sputnik, yeah.
And that that's being remade into English language already, and that just released last year. So what are your thoughts?
Get ready.
You're into it.
A little bit. Now, all right. Still everything you said is correct. It's bullshit that people can't just watch foreign languages. It's annoying that they're remaking something this quick. I hate that they constantly remake foreign language films. Here's where I think this could be a little bit interesting, possibly. Danish culture and American culture, when it comes to drinking, is very different. And that was one of the things that almost held me up about Another Round. I was kind of like, should this be happy? Is this happy? Is this sad? I'm very confused right now.
But isn't that why the movie worked?
Well, yeah, but I think it's because that Danish drinking in the Danish culture is a little bit more I guess liberal, a little bit freer. And that's what I keep on hearing from several interviews I've heard with Mads and Thomas, where I call them Mads and Thomas, by the way. But I sort of truly love the idea of maybe there could be something explored with the American side of drinking, because if this happens in America, it's different. Now, this could unfortunately get corrupted and be a very stupid, trashy, exploitive comedy that will suck. That is what I see. I see the trailer now, and for some reason it has bubble fucking letters, and I'm just like, it's a Jeff Portnoy movie or something. And I'm just
produced by Michael Bay.
And I see that, and it's like, whoa, they're all drunk. It's The Hangover. We'll just get the guys from The Hangover again. And
it's also it's a crossover with the Terminator. They're like, Another Round.
They just bring in every American just stereotype.
Ready Player 3.
You go. Yeah. For me, it is for that part. I think it's going to be terrible, but I think that there could be the slightest bit of an exploration into the American culture of drinking that will actually sort of fascinate me.
Do you want to address the rumors here that you were offered the lead role and turned it down?
I am a teacher, and so, and I got to be honest. When the theory was presented in the first movie, I said to myself, maybe. For any people watching at I won't say my high school. For any people watching, please know that I am 100% kidding. I do not do this experiment. I think my one issue, or no, there's plenty of issues I have, but one of the solid issues I have is Leo kind of taking on most likely the Mads character. Now, we've addressed that this is pretty much rumor at this point. And this is interesting for me to say. It's weird that I'm going to say this, but Mads is able to pull off pathetic. Leo really isn't. And it's weird for me to say that Mads is able to pull off pathetic, because Mads is so friggin' cool. But you see him in the beginning and you kind of almost cry for this guy. And Leo, I just think if I saw him as a drunk teacher, I'd be like, hey, Leo, what's up? It just wouldn't.
You know who I immediately think of in this role when you're talking about someone that you feel for who could pull it off as well? Christian Bale, for some reason. I think Christian Bale would be solid in that role.
Actually, yes. And it's weird that I didn't grince at that for a second, because I'm just thinking, oh yeah, I could see him being just a sad boy, just getting drunk in the classroom.
He's a sad boy. Well, someone who is not a sad boy is Mads Mikkelsen, because while he will not be in the remake of Another Round, he has signed on to join James Mangold's upcoming Indiana Jones 5 opposite Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. We have no idea who he's playing. We have no idea what the plot of the film is. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he's a villain. because that's what he does. He's having quite the time right now after filling in for Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts, and I'm sure other things. I just made that seem like it was going to be much more dramatic than it was.
Well, he was also in Doctor Strange, and he's sort of covering every IP pretty much.
He really is. He's an interesting character. But that film is currently scheduled for release on July 29th, 2022. If I was a betting man, I'd say it probably will push back just based on everything that we're seeing. Although Sony did just like rescue a movie that they were going to release the first week in January and moved it to this summer. So they're like, no, we're just kidding. Come on back. We got you. Putting it opposite Space Jam: A New Legacy, which I don't think is the greatest idea for a movie that you're supposedly wanting to protect. Escape Room 2 is what I'm referring to. But but yeah, I'm into this. I think this is a good casting. I like him a lot. I think seeing him on screen with Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I like that cast. I'm into it. I also am into what James Mangold can do with a character actor like Mads Mikkelsen.
I'm really just sort of fascinated by the fact that we immediately jump to Mads being a villain, because I love the idea of a sly sidekick that we don't know what's going on with him, because this is a guy where you look at him and I'm like, you're my best friend or you're going to kill me. And there is no in between on this dude. And so I'm sort of like, he's sort of the perfect guy to help them out and then draw a gun on them. And I don't know. There's something there where I just think like, let's have him be like, oh God, put him as Indiana Jones. Cause I mean, we all know how Harrison Ford looked at the Oscars, Jesus. But
yeah, that's true. Oh my God.
Like,
you know who else did not look good? You know who else did not look good? Bryan Cranston.
Oh, I tuned out a little bit during that, but
it took me a few minutes. Yeah. I was like, wait, is that Bryan Cranston? Woof. Someone has aged.
Well, he always had like the face like an insanely rippled G.I. Joe, where it's like, oh yeah, I always have this completely stoic face. And it's just like, there's just more and more like of a Mount Rushmore stand-in.
I am the one who knocks. I'm into it. Indiana Jones 5. I'm not really sure what to expect from it, to be quite honest, because I really did not care for the last one, Crystal Skull. There's a rumor that Mads Mikkelsen is playing an older Shia LaBeouf. I'm kidding. But hey, we'll see what we get.
I don't know, because I just hope. I think Harrison needs to take a back seat. I don't think he wants to do these roles anymore. He's intentionally getting himself killed in all of them.
But they're not going to give it to Mads Mikkelsen.
Well, I know that.
What is this beaker noise you're doing tonight?
I don't know. I'm deciding to replace. I'm deciding to replace my voices with grunts.
Oh my God! All right, so I don't even know how to transition there. Later today, or earlier today, as it would be, late in the day, we got news that Godzilla vs. Kong director Adam Wingard is in early talks to helm the next MonsterVerse movie. So Hollywood Reporter has a really nice little article that just talks about the history of the MonsterVerse and how before Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong Skull Island did decent, but they weren't really the blockbusters that they expected them to be. We just saw that Godzilla vs. Kong crossed the 400 billion mark or 400 million mark without some major markets opening, such as the UK. I didn't even realize it's not out in the UK yet. So that's the global box office. But bringing back Adam Wingard to continue the MonsterVerse is kind of interesting because a lot of people thought that it would end with the Godzilla vs. Kong film. So the rumored film is Son of Kong. That's been thrown around a little bit. I'm into this as well. I mean, hey, this was a popcorn flick that knew it was a popcorn flick and did a good job with it in my eyes. The story, I know a lot of people are like back and forth about it, but I enjoyed the action. I thought it was a blast. I think that Adam Wingard gets it. I think he knows what he's doing with two giant monsters. He actually gave, Godzilla some emotional depth, which is like, not very deep at all, but for a character that isn't allowed to show any emotion, he did a good job with it. So I'm fascinated to see where they go.
Yeah, I mean, I was down on Godzilla vs. Kong, and that's it's kind of unfortunate. I feel like I'm not fun with that because I did enjoy the monster movie elements. I did enjoy the world that was being built. I did enjoy all of that type of area of it, and that's all Weingard. It's the same thing I keep saying, and so I don't want to bore people, but it is the human characters that are just like terrible. And you have something like Kong Skull Island, which is not Weingard, but Kong Skull Island, which is they managed to balance the characters with the monster movie by giving the characters one dimension and also putting them in a corner. Like it's just like they're supposed to get picked off. Like Brie Larson, we're not supposed to care about. All right, Tom Hiddleston, we're not supposed to care about. Samuel L. Jackson says "bitch, please," and we're all happy. John Goodman says monsters exist in a very spooky tone, and I'm set. Don't try to make these into caricatures that are for laugh lines. And that's something that just absolutely ticks me off about all the human characters there. That being said, excited for a Son of Kong situation. I know nothing about Son of Kong, but I mean, let's just face it. And we all know, we saw the movie. We all know it. Kong bows to no one. So with that in mind, I'm making sure Son of Kong bows to no one.
That was an Oscars-worthy ending there to that statement.
Better than Stowaway.
Better. I'm into it. One of the points that the article also made was that Weingard, who I keep calling Weingard was real, or Wingard, I think I was calling him, he was very involved in the story of Hollow Earth and kind of giving some of that mythology some life. So I think there's a lot more to explore there, which potentially could lead to some interesting branches in the future. I think that he gave them a couple of different angles or different directions that they can go to extend the MonsterVerse. And everything is about a verse these days. So we'll see where that goes. Over in the Fatherverse, get it?
Oh,
you didn't get it.
What happened?
I said over in the Fatherverse.
Right, so, my apologies.
Florian Zeller, director of The Father, has lined up his next film here. It is going to be The Son. It's an adaptation of another one of his plays, not related to The Father, interestingly enough, but it is an exploration of some familial dynamics. Essentially here what we have is a woman, an ex-wife pops back up with a teenage son and shows up to her ex-husband. And the son has some challenges going on, whatever that may be. So it's a real look at co-parenting with divorcees as well as a troubled son. Hugh Jackman and Laura Dern have signed on. Man, I'm like wilting.
You've got this. You've got this.
Yeah. They have signed on to portray the couple. I am very excited about this. I think that is incredible casting. I'm very pumped because I love Hugh Jackman in anything, as we've talked about. Laura Dern, I said earlier, could punch me in the face. I think those two together will be very, very good. Laura Dern especially, you see what she has been able to do with movies like Marriage Story. And while she didn't have the main role, she did have an impactful role. And I think she's able to bring something different to a dramatic familial story, depending on which direction they take the character, and not knowing anything about the play. I'm assuming it's going to be, a much more contentious situation. And I'm assuming that I see this going one of two ways. Either the kid is mentally challenged in some way, which I think would make for a very fascinating exploration and a very relatable exploration of, how to get help for a child that way, depending on the severity and all of that, which would also be relevant to a lot of families today. Or I see them going sort of the violence direction where, where he's a violent teenager. But I'm ready.
I'm imagining Florian Zeller on the 8th hour of the press junket. No, this has nothing to do with my previous film. Please stop asking me and look at the cards. I'm feeling for Zeller in the future. I first of all love this idea. I think this is going to sound bad, but I'm meaning this as a compliment. This is movie star fodder, where this is. It's just something where it's like you're bringing in these two stars. They've got acting chops, so they're already there as well. Hugh Jackman is a very interesting choice for this. I know he can definitely have a dark edge, but thanks to you, Joe, I just keep on imagining him as the greatest showman. And so pretty much
This is the greatest show.
And so I imagine this, just like, my son. It's just like, this is not what it's going to be. It's going to be very different from that. And I think he can play that darker edge. He's done so in Wolverine. I want to see him sort of do it in something that is like this, a little bit more intimate. And I want to see if he has that range. I can't say if he does or doesn't, honestly. I truly don't know. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Laura Dern, you said she would punch you in your face and you'd say you're sorry. I would pay money for her to punch me in the face. And that's the thing. So with that in mind, I just want to just reiterate that Laura Dern is exceptional. Like you said in Marriage Story, small part, impacted very well. But even in the same year, I'll go with Little Women, where she does have that familial base, and it's kind of a 1-2 punch knockout. Really great performance. She's not in the way. She sits back and sort of lets the action go, and then comes in when she needs to. And I'm when it comes from these two are going to be great. By the way, just shout out to Florian Zeller, who's just I'm going to keep making movies of my plays. What an absolute lord.
Hey, whatever. It's working for him, right?
Awesome.
I'm all about it. I told you, I've said this before on the pod, I'm very into these family dramas and deep dramas that are all about I don't know, I think relevant issues, and people can see themselves in it or in them. So when you're talking about divorce, or when you're talking about dementia, or when you're talking about challenges in co-parenting, I think that's great. And I will definitely be watching, because apparently at the ripe old age of 34, that's what really gets me going. So who knows? Insert transition here. Hot off the hilarious kooky film Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo will develop a musical comedy based around the evil stepsisters of Cinderella for Disney. The film will reportedly follow the stepsisters from their young years through and beyond Cinderella's marriage. I love this, because I think what Disney is doing is they're trying to focus on characters that have been underdeveloped in their films, and so poach their old IP. B, there was a whole section on the stepsisters when I was just down in Disney last week. In the store there was a stepsister thing, and I'm like, okay, we're really pushing those. But C, capitalizing on the success of Barb and Star, which was moderately successful, and especially with these two having written Bridesmaids, which was a big success. I think that's just a really great grab to get these two on board for it. I also would love to see them star in this, to be quite honest, because I think that I could see them as the stepsisters. Maybe they're a little older than would be expected, but sign me up. I'm all about it.
I think that would be actually a lot more funny if they're older than expected, and they're just stepsisters. They just come in with it. I'm starting to worry about myself, because I feel like we were on the pod before, and I'm worried that we
were. This is episode 44, so we were on this pod before.
Well, we were on the pod before talking about another adaptation of a stepsisters movie, and I'm having trouble blending reality and fiction, and I will not leave my flat. But yeah, there it was.
Oh God.
Have we talked about this before?
Not with this one in particular. Oh,
a stepsisters. Yes,
it's going to be a movie on Netflix. An animated movie on Netflix. Animated movie? It's going to be a movie on Netflix. I think not Tina Fey. Amy Poehler's behind it, I believe.
Yes. And it had sort of an immigrant twist to it. And that's what I'm remembering. And so I'm trying to wonder who has the rights to the stepsisters. Is Disney just yeah, sure, both of you make movies on the stepsisters?
I don't think it's because Cinderella is a story that I think is outside of Disney's. Right. So they can do whatever. You're
absolutely right. I forget that Cinderella is not a Disney thing. So that's probably what I'm thinking of. I don't know. That was something that was bugging me when I saw this. Okay, yeah, because I was wondering, this still could be a Mission to Mars, Red Planet situation. And that's the only one I can think of, but there's a few others. The Illusionist and Prestige. But this would be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. I think it's going to be very different. The Netflix film is an animated musical about Cinderella's stepsisters, expected to tell a fresh new spin on the Cinderella story, with two young Asian leads following the two stepsisters who, after getting overlooked for marriage by the prince, embark on an epic journey that will help them realize that their own perfect fairy tales might be different from what they originally thought. So there's gonna be overlap, but
it does seem like a different story.
Yeah. And focused on a different time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I'm okay. Now I'm feeling a little bit better because I was just like, oh my god, there's literally going to be two movies about the stepsisters coming out at the same time. But it looks like they're going to be slightly different, definitely different mediums, different parts of the story, and yeah, okay. Now I'm feeling a little bit better. I've calmed down a little.
Were you ramped up about this?
I don't know. I was confused. I was scared for myself because I was like, I remember we talked about this and it wasn't those people.
Oh, man. Well, Marvel is hard at work in grabbing whatever people they can for their series, and they have locked in Olivia Colman and Emilia Clarke, who are both joining the Secret Invasion series that will put them with Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, and the recently announced addition of Kingsley Ben-Adir, who will play the villain. Look, this is a solid lineup for this series. I don't really give a shit about the series, but it's a solid lineup for the series. I'm obviously riding the Olivia Colman train right now. I think she's just great in everything she does. I also think she's adorable. Emilia Clarke, I'm not totally sold on. I'm not a big Game of Thrones person. And then some of the other stuff. I mean, Last Christmas was adorable, but it was Last Christmas.
Yeah. Here's my notes. I'm just gonna give you my notes. What? Oh my god, seriously, wait. What the fuck? What the fuck? Disney is God. Marvel is God. We must all hail. Like, how did this happen? Like, what? Like, how do they get this? It just
because they're running out of actors. That's the problem. They have so many things going. They have to grab new actors. Like,
but how are they getting these? They're really good.
They have money.
Oh god,
they have money. What do you mean? How are they getting it? They own everything.
Oh my god, they own everything. They're the ones that changed the Oscars around because they wanted to have an Eternals preview at the end and do Marvel, but then instead Anthony Hopkins won. That's one of the theories going on too.
Oh, I wanted an Eternals thing.
I know, that would have been nice. What we got in
that would have been great. Well, Disney's the same company that in our next story is saying, you know what we need? Another Haunted Mansion movie. But Dear White People's Justin Simien has been tapped by Disney to helm a film based on the brand's iconic Haunted Mansion ride. Not my favorite, to be honest, and I'm a Disneyite. The film is going to be produced by Dan Lin and Jonathan Eyrick, the two producers that were behind the live-action Aladdin film. So that's, I think, pretty good because I'm a fan of the Aladdin film. I know a lot of people aren't. But I think that's a good sign and a vote of confidence for what they did with Aladdin, bringing it into today. But this will not be connected to Eddie Murphy's 2003 Haunted Mansion.
That should be the subtitle of the movie. Not connected to Eddie Murphy's 2003 Haunted Mansion. Don't worry, everybody. I don't know. I mean, I would love to see something interesting and real out of this. I mean, let's face it. Like when we get the movies based on rides, most of them were duds except for the original Pirates of the Caribbean, and that launched a franchise that we want to desperately end. And I look at this and I say, okay, this should be fine if you do a standalone picture, which is I know impossible, but that could be something. I worry about Justin Simien, honestly. I think that Dear White People is amazing. I think that Bad Hair is kind of a mess. No puns. It's a little bit messy in how it was executed, and it was a interesting premise, but it just really didn't work. And just I don't know, it was a little bit odd. I mean, what worries me is Haunted Mansion will be something close to that, where it will be some sort of, I know it's Disney, so it won't be crazy horror, but it'll be some kind of horror. And so it'll have this freaky tone to it. The problem with the Haunted Mansion is there's no real story there. There's a billion rich people in there. They all died somehow, and they're all ghosts there, and they're just chilling. And, you got to sort of make something out of that. Where do you make it concentrated? Do you make it overarching? Both of those sound like they can be a mess. I mean, do you just literally have a mansion in there, say it's haunted, and then, you get the Disney bump, but really you're just making your own haunted mansion movie? Just like they, basically like they did kind of with Joker, where they, Todd Phillips is like, I want to make my dramatic, crazy guy movie, and I'll throw the Joker in there. And then it's like, sort of like I can run on that IP. That might be what they do with Haunted Mansion. Possibly. I don't know.
I don't know how they differentiate this from some other haunted type films that we've seen. Like, I'm thinking about what's it called? The book series that was just adapted, Scary Stories. And all those more like PG-13, PG-ish, even Goosebumps to an extent. Like the first one really took place in the mansion and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, I feel like even if you were to ask Disney fanatics, of which I put myself in that realm, what Disney park fanatics, I should say, what type of story they could tell from Haunted Mansion, I don't know that there is one that people would immediately jump to. It is a ride that appears throughout the world at their parks, but in different versions when you get overseas, because of cultural impacts of haunted houses and stuff, specifically in some of the Asian markets. I don't know. I'm like, we got to do this again. You tried, it didn't work. Move on. I want like a live action Hall of Presidents where they all just start like fighting each other. And like Biden comes in and like chops down Trump's guy, and I work on that, okay, and then I'll be ready to go.
The Hall of Presidents sounds like the trickiest movie to ever juggle. It's like there's writers there like, how do we keep everyone happy?
The most ambitious crossover ever. Just imagine there's like portals from Endgame, and like Abe Lincoln comes out, and then like Andrew Garfield for some reason pops out, and then like Obama does like the Willy Wonka roll.
There's like 18 presidents we have to cancel. Like, this is not gonna work.
That's why it's 2-part. They like at the end of Infinity Oval Office, Trump like cancels most of the wrong presidents, and then it's up to Joe Biden to come back and try to put a team together to fix it.
So Joe Biden was in the quantum realm, and
this is stupid.
We're thinking of we're losing either fans of presidents or fans of Avengers. Either way, we're losing people.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to a series that lost me near the end because they didn't really stick the landing, in my opinion. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier showrunner is going to write Captain America 4. That showrunner is Malcolm Spellman. He wrote 3 of the episodes for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, as well as, again, was the showrunner. He'll write the new Captain America film. There's no real target on, or at least it's not known when this film will come out. Remember, there's a litany of Marvel films that are in the works right now. So this could be like 5 years down the road. Yeah, I mean, it's expected that, and spoilers if you didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's likely that the 4th installment is going to explore Sam Wilson's emergence as Captain America, which I do think they stuck the landing on that part of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We didn't talk about this on here, did we?
We didn't.
Maybe we should, but my whole thing with, I guess, so I'm excited for this. Let me put it that way. I'm happy to see where they go with it. I think there's more development that needs to happen because they did do a great job of doing a deep dive into the challenges that a black man has in taking up the shield and really going into new territory for Marvel in a good way. I think they handled that very well. But talking about the series itself, here are the things I could have done without. I could have done without the Wakandans because they kind of just seemed like they were added in to be like, oh, guess who's here, and give a little spice in the middle. Zemo, I thought they obviously tapped him to get him and like reintroduce him for something later, but he kind of just faded in the last episode. Of course, he had an impact, but he faded in the last episode. Sharon Carter, like, I could not have given less of a fuck about her. And then when the rumors were proven true and she is the power broker, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I could not care less. And the last piece that I'm forgetting right away. Oh, and then the way that they handled U.S. Agent and the introduction to U.S. Agent and all of that, like, really just frustrated me because the dude literally murdered a guy on camera. They vilified him and stripped him of all of his, well, they didn't strip him, but they just booted him out of the military. And then all of a sudden, like, in the post-credit scene of episode 5, he's building his own shield, comes with this, like, pretty shabby looking, but not bad looking, somewhere in between there, Captain America suit, and teams up with them to help battle, the threats. And like him and Bucky are like bros all of a sudden. And then at the end, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like, "Hey, here's your new suit. You are still bad." Like, it seemed so mismanaged, and I don't know where they were trying to go with it. All that to say, Captain America 4 is coming.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought Captain America 4. We already just watched it because I say that we didn't watch a series. We watched a 4-hour movie in 6 parts, maybe a little bit more, maybe 5-hour movie in 6 parts. This did not have the feel of the series like Wanda Vision did. But instead this had something where I'm like, okay, this is the first part of the movie, the second part of the movie. And it just like really got cut into pieces, which was really annoying. And I think it would have worked better as a movie. Obviously you'd have to trim quite a lot of fat. And there was quite a lot of fat to be trimmed. I mean, if we think about the actual villains in this, I mean, you didn't even mention Carly. You don't need to mention Carly. Cause that I understood what she was going for, but there was just absolutely nothing captivating about her. I look at, Zemo, the same exact thing. I literally forgot about him when writing my review, literally forgot about him. And someone called me out in the comments and I was like, oh yeah, well, no, that's the problem right there. So that was just one of the issues I had. I'm surprised you didn't mention the best part of the entire series in the finale. Him arguing with the senator for 15 minutes where he kept on saying, "No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand." And I was like, oh my God, shut up.
I kind of liked that. Like that.
I liked it at the first moment and then it kept going.
See, I'm the opposite. The first part of it, I was like, where are we going with this? Like, what, they're trying to do something, they're not being successful in it, or they're not succeeding. And then I felt like they did finally get to the point and do it. But I can't even remember what he said, but when he walked over and Bucky said something like, "Yeah, I stopped listening after Blow," or whatever. They did a good job developing them. I liked Carly. I felt like they could have done more with her because she was the first, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but she was the first villain that was a normal person. I mean, she had the super serum, of course, but her motives were refugee motives essentially. And it was such an interesting dynamic that I feel like they squandered, and I can't believe they killed her at the end because I would have loved to see her pop back up somewhere.
Yeah, no, I loved her stance and I love that issue, but I think you're doing way too much here. It's you got John Walker in there, which I thought that was the most fascinating thing for me. Yes, they did bumble that ending where he teams up with him, which is just beyond ridiculous, and just I could not even sit comfortably there. But the rest of it was really good. It's replacing Captain America. Could literally anyone do it? Probably no one. I mean, it was just one of those things that really just perplexed me. I said to myself, I'm like, is he good? Is he bad? Then obviously he's very bad. But before that, it was just one of those aspects where I'm like, hey, he just seems like a guy who's trying to make this work. He's going at it in a different way than Captain America. Is that okay? Should it be more honorable? He's a little bit fun, when he's turning on the siren and stuff in the first and second episode. And he was just an antagonist. Then he became a villain. And I understand you got to go that route. But then when he becomes the protagonist, that's where it gets a little bit weird.
It was so odd how they did that. It was so frustrating because I did like a lot of the things they were doing. But I didn't, again, I thought the ending felt rushed. It felt really weird. And I was not very much into the fumbling of characters that could have ultimately gone on to play a big role. Going back to Sharon Carter again, because I'm going to pick on her. How in the fuck does she become Power Broker? Explain that to me.
Okay. It's a tough one. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. The silence says it all, but
there's no logical way that she becomes Power Broker. And now, of course, like the question is, who is she talking to in the after credit scene when she was saying that we're about to be let in on the secrets of, the weapons, blah, blah, blah. And people are thinking that it's going to connect to Armor Wars, which is a show that I forgot that they're doing. I'm wondering if she is a Skrull, a Kree or a Skrull. Because of course we're building up to, I don't know, like I'm just gonna come up with random shit to try to satisfy me. I also wonder if she's Mephisto. No, I'm kidding.
So I think going back to Malcolm Spellman running the Captain America 4 movie, I think that's like perfect. I think that's brilliant. Even though we're ragging on this show right now, it really is just the villain problem that's wrong with this show. I love, and you mentioned it already, the discussion on race with Captain America and the character of, I always say Isaac or Isaiah. I know one of them is right. Isaiah, man, I go biblical all the time and I say Isaac. Isaiah, that character is like by far one of the best. And it's almost like from a Hannibal Lecter standpoint where like he is sort of with this whole movie whenever Mackie is sort of deliberating the Captain America, where you just feel his presence. You feel his pain in this. There was stuff that was really difficult to talk about in a Captain America movie, really difficult to hear in a Captain America movie. And then they also had some fun little action sequences and stuff. So I think that having him write it, it's going to be good. I hope that he just knows how to chill with the villains. Not even that any of them were bad, but there was just too many of them. And Carter was pretty bad, and the power broker thing was a little bit of a mess. But it's a shame because I even liked the whole Sharon Carter situation in that third episode. And then it just like, I started seeing her become like more and more bad. And I was like, oh no, they're going to make it stupid. They made it.
And she also spent like, was it the fourth or fifth episode? She spent the whole episode like on the phone and an iPad. Like
in some like museum or something, yeah,
like selling art. Like we're not selling art anymore. Now we're going to sell weapons. Like what? It's so stupid. And I mean, this is a larger conversation, but I'll plug Talking TV here because on Friday night I was on their chat and we got into a discussion about the future. And I'm worried about the future of Marvel. I know they have a plan. Of course, I know they have a plan. They absolutely always have a plan. They know what they're doing. They were successful before. But I hope that they change their strategy a little bit and don't just try to follow the same type of template that they had over the course of the first three phases. The reason I say that is because, they're going to introduce us to some new characters, but it also seems like they're going to try to hype up some minor characters that were minor in the previous phases, but now maybe they want them to be like big players. I think they succeeded with Sam and Bucky. I think they did a good job of bringing them up and leveling them up, and now it's time to see them in like a movie somewhere and really stepping up. WandaVision, like I think WandaVision did a good job with making Scarlet Witch more intriguing and exploring the powers that we're going to see burst onto the screen in Doctor Strange. But again, not to rag on her, Sharon Carter, like you're going to try to tell me that I need to care about Sharon Carter and she's the power broker, which is a big role in the MCU. And what the fuck is she doing? I don't care about her. Who like Zemo right now? I don't care about Zemo. Yeah. Joy Louis-Dreyfus, I love her to death. But if she's just assembling an anti-Avengers team, then I'm going to be bored. Like I feel like they have already graduated past some of the pedestrian kiddie stuff that we see in comics a lot, or that we saw in comics a lot, and now it's time to do something dynamic. I don't think being like, oh, I'm assembling a team now too, is going to be the way to go about it. So I hope she has more to do, but I don't know. Yeah,
we'll see this again, and it'll look familiar. And then all of a sudden, it'll be like, oh, they're creating another Avengers team, and then it's like, well, we saw this already. I think. At this point, we went out, we followed the line. We followed the linear story all the way to Avengers Endgame. And now we're going to push ourselves off the raft, and now we're just swimming out in the ocean. Now, I'm thinking there's more of a plan than that.
Yeah.
But at this point, you're a little bit more free to do a lot more. And I think the series, we've got 2 Marvel series right now. I'd both say good. But good with like a little bit of a hesitation there. I think there's issues with WandaVision, although I sort of like how it wrapped up. And I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier had a little bit too many issues to it that were, annoying me quite a bit. So we're not totally there yet with them. And I don't know, Loki sounds amazing. So like, I hope that there's something there, but what is that going to do? I know they're going to bring in some side characters with the Loki series. Is he going to keep on going? And where does that fit? Where does this eventually go? And maybe it goes nowhere and we just watch series and movies and just have fun for a while. Maybe people start to get sick of this. Like you just said, Armor Wars. I have a headache now. I don't know what that is. I don't know comics, but I want to watch all of them, but I'm getting tired. And so like it's one of these things where it's like I'm excited for each new thing, but how long is that excitement going to last if they can't hold up as much?
I think they overshot it with the streaming shows they're going to do. Because I think that, there's the question of, is there going to be fatigue? And I think there's definitely going to be fatigue. I mean, there's superhero shows about absolutely everything. They're not going anywhere. I mean, DC is going to continue to try, and I really believe we're going to get an Invincible live action movie at some point. We're getting Static Shock. We're getting a lot of non DC and Marvel properties that are being developed, which I'm all for. I think that's great, but we're getting a lot of superheroes. Now, what happens with Marvel is going to be really fascinating to me because, right now I'm tired. I'm like, you're tired. I'm tired. I don't know that I want to be forced to care about these characters to watch a series that's going to connect to the movies in some way. And if you look at Falcon and Winter Soldier, you could go without watching that and probably get a good idea of, pick it up wherever they're going to pick up that story. I think you'll be okay. They're going to have to do some quick, recap of, and not like a traditional recap, but somehow describe or explain how Carter's the power broker. We already know that Joy Louis-Dreyfus's character Val was going to be introduced in Black Widow, so that was already going to happen. Apparently, it's not a big deal if they switched it around the way they did and have her reveal in Falcon and Winter Soldier first. Zemo, how did he end up in the raft? Quick line about that, and you're good. The biggest piece of this series was the development of Anthony Mackie as and Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. If you didn't watch the series, all you know is that he has the shield. Mm-hmm. He lays down the shield in the first episode. He picks it back up at the end of the fifth, technically. So you're fine. Wanda Vision, I think, is a tougher one. I think you kind of need to watch that to understand where, the intricacies of her. The kids are coming back into the picture, apparently, in Doctor Strange. Who the hell knows where White Vision is out there. Hopefully Agatha comes back.
You're hoping for that. Yeah.
I loved Agatha. I love Catherine Hahn. But, just my point with all that is they're doing so much. And I don't know where to direct my attention. It's not as linear as it once was. And for them to have a slate of however many movies they had out there, right? And now to announce Captain America 4 is coming out. Okay, when is that coming out? And then also to say, we're developing Fantastic Four. And then also knowing that mutants are coming. There's just so much going on. And my heart can only take so much. And I don't want to wait until 2032 to get the answers for this, these three phases.
Well, according to the Marvel Universe, 2032 is only a few years away because they're 5 years in the future. But I would argue on another podcast, the Ringerverse, I'm shouting them out, even though they're, they should be shouting us out. Ringerverse, shout us out. But they just officially said, with all their speculating, because they speculate all the Marvel episodes of things, they just said, we're not talking about mutants. No talk about mutants until we hear something about me. We're not talking about them. And I think that's a good way to be, because right now they're screwing with us in Madripoor. Or is that what it is? Madripoor?
Is
that right? Okay. I didn't know if I said something offensive. They're screwing with us in I don't know. They're screwing with us in Madripoor. But I can't believe you didn't know that Sharon Carter was the power broker, because when I looked at the graffiti patterns in Madripoor at one point, when I froze frame it and then actually, doubled the frame, reversed it, it actually said Sharon Carter is the power broker. So I cannot believe you call yourself a fan.
I was told by you that I am not allowed to theorize about these Marvel shows because they get out of hand. Okay? I was trying to obey the rules of the pod.
Well, and you know what? It's even worse because this is the one thing. Remember what I said when Falcon and the Winter Soldier started? Is I said this will be a nice buddy cop one where people aren't going to go nuts and theorize. And then the show, I'm blaming the show. The show's like the power broker, and then everyone that was it. And then of course I got involved because I'm an idiot. And oh god,
I never cared. I know that's like I never cared. Honestly.
I started to not care after they wanted me to care. After like the last few episodes when they were just like they just kept on saying it and then almost looking at the screen they were just like mouthing like Sean, power broker, and I was like stop it.
I just kept throwing out little lines here and there, like online and stuff. I was like, I heard it's Mephisto, or like, wouldn't it be crazy if this is Magneto and that's the way that they're introducing mutants? Is that the super serum is what caused it, and that caused like a genetic mutation then occurs? Remember, they were also saying that with Wanda Vision though too. Going through the shield causes a genetic mutation, and that's how.
That's why we can't talk about mutants anymore. I think it's a good rule. Don't talk about them until we know what's going on with them.
I agree, but they're out there. Like you know they're coming at some point, and. They're everywhere. So I don't know. I just frustrated. I'm really frustrated with Marvel, and I don't know why.
I think it's because it's a lot, honestly. And I think it's one of these things where before this, we were just watching some lovely Marvel movies. And I think now it's one of these things where we're discussing it all, like, and theorizing, but just even discussing, or even just like watching an episode, absorbing it for a week. That's effort. It takes effort to binge a season. I know that sounds dumb. There's actual people that do legitimate work, but mental effort is needed when you're watching one of a season of a show or something.
I'm like exhausted from this conversation,
Yeah, no, I am officially there too. But let's introduce actor and actress, and then we can get out of here.
All right. Well, congratulations, Anthony Hopkins. See ya. All right, let's talk top new releases this week. Things Heard and Seen, starring Amanda Seyfried, comes out Thursday on Netflix. You have 4 Good Days in theaters on Friday. Limbo in theaters on Fridays. The Mitchells versus the Machines on Netflix on Friday. And Without Remorse on Amazon Prime Video on Friday. Lots going on.
I cannot wait for Without Remorse. We haven't talked about that, but Taylor Sheridan, baby. Let's go. And Michael B. Jordan, but Taylor Sheridan.
Do you want me to text you while I'm watching it tonight?
I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad. Let's keep this going so you can't watch it tonight.
Well, it's probably I'll fall asleep. Let's be real. That's what always happens. And I'm like, shit, it's an embargo. I'm really good at this job. Why is Colossus trending on Netflix on Twitter right now? Colossus. I don't know what this. It's a new X-Men, and Colossus looks like he is dressed like something special. Okay, so they're just talking about him looking like a porn leader? Gay. Wait, Colossus living his Kraven the Hunter gay porn fantasy.
So I'm assuming this isn't a Disney Plus series.
No, it's a Marvel comic book. I just hate this. Do you also, complete side note, do you know what a Logan Paul is?
Yes. Why? Have you heard from him?
He's fighting Floyd Mayweather, apparently.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, no, I forget which. I think the Paul brothers are fighting now. Yeah, they were YouTube celebrities and they're fighting now.
As one does. That makes a lot of sense.
Let's.
Scott Derrickson, director Scott Derrickson, retweeted it and said, "I will pay to see this public execution." Anyway, all right. So just to wrap up announcements, what's coming up this week is on Thursday. We have Guide to Movies, and that's not what it's called. We have Trivia Night with Guide to Movies and the Chumps, and this is Simpsons Trivia Edition. So it should be a lot of fun. That's Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube or Twitch. And yeah, Sean, what else we got going on? Anything?
We have. Well, I have my. Should I plug me? I don't
go
know.
for it.
Sorry, I lost.
No,
I just lost myself completely.
We're rusty. We were off last week, and
that's why I'm screwed up right now. I didn't know what. Okay. Here we go. Doing well. Yes. Math Teacher Movies, available on Instagram. I do Monologue Mondays, What the Oscars Got Wrong Wednesdays, and Final Shot Fridays. I review movies of old and new, and I review TV shows of old and new. Also, at GuideTheMovies.com, I have Awards Watch with Math Teacher Movies. It's a column every week where I talk about all the awards, specifically the Oscars, but hey, this summer's the Emmys.
Oh my God. That was very well done. Congrats. This summer's the Emmys. One other thing I want to plug real quick is that I had the pleasure of being on the Morning Geekdom last week on their podcast. And there were 4 of us on there that did a Harry Potter character draft. It was a lot of fun. And you can go on the Morning Geekdom's Instagram, and they'll be putting up polls. It's kind of like a nice little bracket there to see who's going to win fan favorite. What? You're making a face.
I'm sorry. I'm reading Luke Review's comment where he's calling us boomers.
Logan Paul is cool now, but everybody hates Jake Paul. They're both very trashy and problematic individuals that make money off of being problematic and trashy individuals. So I'm pretty confident that they will never be guests on this show. So there you go.
There we go.
And that's that on that. But anyway, no, go over to the Morning Geekdoms page. I think tonight is going to be the second round of voting. It was really fascinating. It was a lot of fun to see like who drafted who, and also to recognize that there are so many characters in the Harry Potter movies. It's absolutely insane. I am slightly regretting my pick of Oliver Wood at one point.
I don't even know who that is.
I thought what?
Which one is it? What does he do? What is this thing?
Oliver Wood was the captain of the Quidditch team when Harry first joined. He was incredible.
Oh, he was lovely.
Yeah, he was a lovely dude.
Yeah.
There were a lot of memes out there because like all the girls and the gays were after him, and they kept going. They kept saying "wood for wood." That's all I remember. And I'm like, I'll pick him. So yeah, it's a lot of fun they're doing. The podcast was a lot of fun too. So definitely chime in there. We have a good debate about the Weasleys and whether or not they are good people.
Oh my God.
Fred and George.
Okay.
I did pick Molly as one of my like main picks because I love
the one
Molly
that marries Harry.
No, you are the worst.
I don't know anything about Harry.
Molly Weasley is the mother. Ginny marries Harry. Ginny is the daughter. Molly is the mother.
I do know Ginny. Okay,
not my daughter, Molly. You bitch.
Yeah, now I got it. Yeah,
that's
the
Molly.
Thing with the Helena Bonham Carter in the.
Yeah, that's her. Anyway, you can find me on GuideToMovies.com or at GuideToMovies on Instagram, GuideToMovies1 on Twitter, and I'm doing the TikTok thing now, so that's a lot of fun. Haven't done one in a week, but it's fun when I do them. Some fun stuff that's coming up on GuideToMovies.com. In addition to Sean and his awards watch, we also have Netflix and Chill movies. No, Netflix and Chill. He just changed his name and I always get it wrong. But he's doing a Mandalorian rewatch each week, and it's really fascinating and a deep dive that's really refreshing to read because he has a great insight on it. And with Star Wars not being my like number one main focus that I'm very knowledgeable on, I love reading it, just as I will enjoy reading Michael Lovins from Lovins Loves and the Real Game Movie Show doing a recap of The Bad Batch each week. His preview is up right now for that. That just went up live today, so definitely check that out. We will be getting back to recaps of Superman and Lois when they return from their COVID hiatus in a couple of weeks. But what's kind of cool is they put all of the first 5 episodes on HBO Max. So if you haven't caught that show, you can watch it there. Hopefully you don't have commercials because it's a much better show when you don't watch it with commercials. I forgot how much I hated CW shows because of commercials. But it's fine. I think it's a really good series and I'm excited to see where it goes. So I'll pick them back up. Coming up soon. In addition to that, we have the Falcon and Winter Soldier recaps are obviously over, but Darren Movie Reviews will be returning with a Loki recaps once that pops up in June or starts up in June. We also have Invincible recaps on Saturday from Kevin of Taste in Movies _bad on Twitter. He always has to make it difficult, But Invincible is a show, if you're not watching it, it's really, really picking up. It's really good. Oh my God. Very much enjoying it. And then also starting next week, or starting Friday, actually, with a preview, we're going to have Jupiter's Legacy recaps coming up from Dom, Movie Nerd Reviews of Talkin' TV. It is the first time that we'll be doing a Netflix show recap. And of course, that creates a little bit of a challenge because they drop all the episodes at once. But we'll have the schedule up for you all to know when to expect that. So they'll be coming out kind of fast and furious, probably over a course of 2 weeks or so. But get ready for them because that show, I think, has the potential to be really good or really bad. But who knows? We'll binge it in like a day. So, Anyway, you can listen to this podcast anywhere that you get your podcast. Overwatch. Google,
yeah, baby.
Join Sean on Overwatch. Google, Anchor, Apple, Spotify, all of them. And please rate, review, and smash that subscribe button.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh my God. The joke behind that is that we have friends that make fun of us saying, "Oh, do you say smash your subscribe button?" And we actually have a friend over on the Chumpcast that says smash your subscribe button. So this will be a true test of if he listens or not. We'll find out soon. Other than that, Sean, I don't know if we can continue with our PSA.
I actually would like to give a shout out to Zendaya, who I don't notice anything about fashion or anything like that. Zendaya obviously always looks great. But I really love when people coordinate the dress or the outfit with the mask. I think bringing the mask as fashion is a really cool statement. It's something that's really solid. Zendaya did that. So now I'll say, when you go to the Oscars, make sure you wear your damn mask. All right. Because otherwise we'll have another Oscars like this where we're all sitting at table, or they're all sitting at tables in a train station. And then Joaquin Phoenix runs off the stage after screaming Anthony Hopkins. So how about we wear our damn masks? How you doing?
Unless you're outside, because the CDC just revised their guidance today. And there's certain guidance that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear it outside when you're around people that you know, and all kinds of weird catches and stuff. So we're getting there, people. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep it up. Yep.
Also, just a little plug, you may or may not experience an ad or two during this episode or future episodes. There will be some ads being thrown in, and we are sorry, but that happens. But we're going to try our best to make them fun. It's our new thing for us. We are going to be recording our first one after this, so be ready for the debauchery and craziness that you come to expect from the debauchery. Wasn't the right word?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Be ready.
Movies.
Be ready for the ridiculousness and craziness, which are synonyms, that you come to expect from us when we're tired on a Tuesday. Why has this week fucking sucked already?
Dude, it's a bad week. It's a bad week. I have of my shit on Mondays and Tuesdays. Like the rest of my week now, every week is just like now Wednesday through Friday is just beautiful. Like every week. It's nuts.
I have this thing at work where people are going to be like, now they're talking about work. I have this thing at work where like when I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh, wow, it's a pretty light week. Shit, I shouldn't have said that out loud because then like everything hits. And today literally was from like the moment I started to like an hour after I usually finish. Oh, God, I'm just not into it. It really gets in the way of me doing guide to movie stuff, and it's really rude. I mean, I know they pay me and stuff, but
it's annoying. Yeah, no.
Anyway, Sean, pleasure to be here.
The pleasure's all mine.
Is it?
The pleasure's all mine.
It's like a step for wives thing.
The pleasure's all mine.
All right, we're ending. Bye.